Hello everybody, I am Dr. Apturkar, continuing with the e-lecture series. Now today's topic, that is surgical jaundice, also called as obstructive jaundice. So if the patient comes with jaundice, then we have to think of the possibility of medical as well as surgical jaundice. Medical jaundice can be treated medically, but surgical jaundice definitely will require some surgical interventions. That's why it is important to know what are the causes for surgical jaundice, what is the pathophysiology in case of surgical jaundice, and we should know how it presents clinically, and then how to investigate a case of jaundice and manage the case of surgical jaundice after differentiating it from medical jaundice. Now, how to define surgical jaundice? It is also called as obstructive jaundice. It is also termed as cholestatic jaundice. Surgical jaundice which develops due to obstruction to biliary outflow from liver to gallbladder and or to the duodenum. So the bile is not reaching to the duodenum in obstructive jaundice. It results into intra or extrahepatic cholestasis. That's why it is also called as cholestatic jaundice, which can be partial or complete or sometimes intermittent. So depending on the obstruction, whether it is partial, complete or intermittent, the clinical course differs. Again, the characteristic of surgical jaundice, it is characterized by conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, that is direct hyperbilirubin is increased, absence of urobilirubinemia in urine, a colic or pale stool, and pruritus. Now coming to the etiologies, there are various causes. If we know what are the causes for surgical jaundice, then we can better treat it. Benign causes like choledocholithiasis, gallstone disease, again Miri's syndrome, choledochal fistula, liver abscess, pseudocyst, parasites like liver fluke, ascariasis or schistosomiasis, bile duct stricture due to any cause which may be traumatic, iatrogenic or post-inflammatory, post-radiation. Strictures can occur due to chronic pancreatitis, primary sclerosing cholangitis, biliary cirrhosis. Again, these are causes giving rise to obstruction to the biliary outflow. There are congenital causes like biliary atresia, choledochal cyst. Then malignant causes, any solid cystic lesion in the pancreas compressing the distal CBD or infiltrating the distal CBD, carcinoma of gallbladder, again infiltrating the CBD or compressing the CBD, cholangiocarcinoma, Klatskin tumor at the bifurcation of hepatic ducts, then ampullary or periampullary carcinoma. These are the malignant condition which gives chronic type of obstructive jaundice. Again, intrahepatic malignant lesion can compress the biliary duct or there can be compression at the porta hepatis resulting into obstructive jaundice. Strictures can be iatrogenic due to CBD injury during laparoscopic procedure or even in open surgical procedure. It can be due to ischemic injury to the CBD, either due to cautery or hepatic artery injury. Then some rare causes, other causes like patient is put on total parenteral nutrition causing the cholestasis resulting into jaundice. So this is a picture of showing the various causes of obstructive jaundice, diagrammatic representation, intraluminal, extrinsic or mural. You can see the picture. Now according to Benjamin, we can classify surgical jaundice type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. Type 1 complete obstruction, for example, carcinoma of head of pancreas, cholangiocarcinoma, ligation of CVD. It will give rise to complete obstruction which can present with acute obstructive jaundice, complete jaundice, progressively increasing the bilirubin. Then intermittent obstruction type 2, periampullary carcinoma. There can be necrosis at the ampulla of Vater which is walled off and the jaundice will be relieved temporarily. Again there is a growth and there is obstruction increasing the bilirubin level. So patient will present with intermittent obstruction and intermittent jaundice. Choledocholithiasis, again gallstone impacted at the ampulla. Because of dilatation of CVD, it will be released and bounce back, releasing the obstruction. Again it will obstruct in the ampulla of water, giving rise to intermittent picture of jaundice. Choledochal cyst again causes intermittent obstruction. Duodenal diverticulum again results into intermittent obstruction. Type 3 chronic incomplete obstruction due to sclerosing cholangitis, chronic pancreatitis, stenosis, bilioenteric anastomosis, stenosis of anastomosis like choledochogeinostomy. Type 4, that is segmental obstruction, occurs in sclerosing cholangitis, cholangiocarcinoma, hepatodocholithiasis, stones in the hepatic ducts, intrahepatic ducts. They causes segmental obstruction, segmental pathology of biliary duct. And depending on the type, you will get the clinical picture presentation of the jaundice. What is the pathology in surgical jaundice? There is a defective absorption because bile is not reaching the intestine. So there is a poor absorption of fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, K, which ultimately results into coagulopathy, deficiency of factor 2, 7, 9, 8, 9, 10. The stasis of the bile causes back pressure, increased pressure. Normally biliary pressure is 15 to 25 millimeter of water, which can be increased. It results into hydrohepatosis, liver will be enlarged, greenish, intrahepatic biliary radicals will be dilated. Again, the back pressure will cause reduced bile secretion. Ultimately, the bile secretion is stopped, resulting into production of only mucus, that is a white bile. It is termed as a white bile. This back pressure will cause hepatocyte injury. It will result into degeneration of hepatocytes. There is a small duct obstruction, periductal fibrosis, pericholangitis, edema, bile leak. Then again liver infarction that will result into atrophy of liver, and ultimately it will end up with the secondary liver cirrhosis. And again cirrhosis will lead to portal hypertension. Retention of bile salts and pigments in blood and body fluids occurs. Then acute cholangitis due to stasis, it will again added with the bacterial growth, colonization. There will be reflux of infected bile content. It will result into bacteremia, ultimately septicemia and shock. Then hepatorenal syndrome, there can be involvement of kidney, renal dysfunction causing tubular necrosis and renal failure, along with the hepatic failure. Accumulation of bile salts in skin causes release of endogenous opioid and also release of histamine, resulting into pruritus. Now, what are the types of jaundice? If you know the types, you can very well differentiate the surgical jaundice from medical jaundice. Prehepatic jaundice, that is due to conditions like sickle cell anemia, hemolytic anemia, where there is a disruption which happens before bilirubin has been transported from blood to liver. The bilirubin is not conjugated, so it is an unconjugated bilirubin. Intrahepatic jaundice, that is hepatocellular jaundice, occurs in case of liver cirrhosis, hepatitis, Gilbert syndrome. The disruption happens inside the liver. Then post-hepatic jaundice, that is mainly the obstructive jaundice. There is a disruption which prevents the bile and bilirubin inside it from draining out of the gallbladder and into the digestive system. So conditions like cholelithiasis or tumor can cause this, or stricture can cause this obstructive jaundice. So we can classify prehepatic, hepatic and post-hepatic jaundice. Prehepatic, there is excessive amount of bilirubin due to breakdown of heme, which is not getting conjugated. So there is a elevated unconjugated bilirubin in the serum. So excessive production of bilirubin due to hemolysis, which is not getting conjugated. In hepatic, there is a impaired cellular uptake, there is a defective conjugation, and there can be abnormal secretion of bile by the liver cell. So we can get both conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin. So partly there can be conjugated bilirubin and mostly it is unconjugated bilirubin, which is elevated in the serum. In post-hepatic jaundice, you will get impaired excretion of due to mechanical obstruction of jaundice, mechanical obstruction of bile flow, which is the bile is conjugated as we get elevated conjugated bilirubin in the serum. So there is a conjugated bilirubin in post-hepatic jaundice. There is a which gets absorbed and excreted in the urine. So urine becomes dark. You will find bilirubin in the urine. While in hepatic jaundice, again partly it is conjugated and unconjugated. The urine color will be dark. In prehepatic, it is unconjugated. Unconjugated bile is not water soluble. It will not be filtrated by urine, so the urine color will get normal. Stool color, again the bile is not reaching to the intestine, so stool color bile is reaching. There is an increased bilirubin, so stool color is normal. In hepatic jaundice, again the stool color is normal. In post-hepatic, the bile is not reaching to the intestine. It is not getting converted into stercobilinogen by intestinal flora. So stool becomes grayish, yellow, whitish. That is called as acolic stool. Pruritus is absent in prehepatic and hepatic. It is present in post-hepatic jaundice. Again, depending on causes, prehepatic, it is mostly hemolytic anemia, sickle cell anemia. In hepatic jaundice, it is due to hepatitis, cirrhosis or hepatocellular disease. Post-hepatic, it is due to obstruction because of gallstones malignancy or any inflammatory stricture or inflammation. How the surgical jaundice presents in the patient. Now, history is very important in case of obstructive jaundice because you can decide whether it is a medical type of jaundice or surgical jaundice on detailed history. So age, considering the age in children, that is mostly congenital causes like choledochal cyst, biliary atresia. In young adult, you will find cholelithiasis or CVD stone or strictures, that is more common. In older patient, one can suspect malignancy, malignant cause for jaundice like CA head of pancreas, cholangiocarcinoma. Obesity, particularly in female patient, fatty, 40, fertile female, one can find prevalence of gallstone disease or biliary disease more common with female. Gallstones more common with obesity. The jaundice which is presenting, it can be associated with abdominal pain in case of biliary stone, biliary colic, which can give rise to fever. Fever can be associated with cholangitis. So intermittent fever, cholangitis, and jaundice, intermittent jaundice, that is called as Charcot's triad, which may be present on history. There can be family history of biliary disease or any pancreatic disease. Painless jaundice usually occurs in malignant lesion. Duration is very important, whether it is acute short duration or long duration. Whether the jaundice is continuously progressing, means the obstruction is complete. Whether it is intermittent, we will see the causes for intermittent jaundice. Then again, dark urine, presence of dark urine, pale stool, fatty bulky pale stool, that is characteristic of obstructive jaundice, that associated with steatorrhea. Loss of weight, loss of appetite will be evident. Vomiting, belching, altered bowel habit can be there. Then one of the characteristic feature, pruritus, will be present. Patient will be having scratch marks over the back or shoulder, limbs. History of anemia, malena. Now, in case of periampullary lesions, malignancy, there can be bleeding from the malignancy resulting into malena and anemia. Hemophilia, again, it can give rise to malena, anemia. History of pancreatitis, recurrent attacks of pancreatitis, history of hepatitis, history of GI bleed, particularly in case of portal hypertension, history of previous malignancy, history of gallstones, biliary colic, then any surgical intervention previously done for biliary system, any intervention, cholecystectomy or any surgical procedure like surgery on biliary system or stomach or pancreas, or any previous anastomosis done, biliary enteric anastomosis done. Then again, drug abuse, drug induced jaundice, that is cholestatic jaundice, can occur. Blood transfusion, history of blood transfusion, mismatched blood, history of alcohol abuse or social history, taking drugs with a common needle, drug addict, that can be asked. Then again, history of diabetes, diarrhea of recent onset can give some clue of association with the obstructive jaundice. Clinically, patient can have pallor due to anemia, icterus when the bilirubin is more than 2-3 milligram, scratch marks over back, shoulder, limbs. Gallbladder can be palpable if it is malignant obstruction. It may not be palpable in case of calculus obstruction, calculus disease. That is what Courvoisier law say. Abdominal mass can be there if there is any lesion in hepatic liver or gallbladder, or in case of malignancy of pancreas, or any nodal mass, lymph node mass. Again, look for Virchow's supraclavicular lymph node in case of advanced malignancy. Digital rectal examination can show the rectal varices, that occurs in case of portal hypertension. On examination, again, you can find the signs of hepatic failure stigma like ascites, spider neva, caput medusae due to portal hypertension, palmar erythema, gynecomastia, testicular atrophy. That is all due to hormonal changes due to hepatic failure. In signs of portal hypertension, varices, bleeding varices, patient can present with GI bleed. Splenomegaly may be there. Liver will be palpable, smooth enlargement of the liver will be seen. Then Trousseau's sign, that is superficial migratory thrombophlebitis, can occur in case of CA pancreas or also in case of CA stomach. It is a picture showing what is Courvoisier's law. In case of calculus obstruction, the gallbladder is fibrous, so you will not get the palpable gallbladder in obstructive jaundice. But if there is a progressive obstruction in case of malignancy like CA head of pancreas or periampullary malignancy, it is a slow growing and chronic obstruction causing the distension of gallbladder, dilatation of gallbladder. So gallbladder is palpable. Some exceptions like double impaction, you will get a palpable gallbladder. Pancreatic calculus, again one can get palpable gallbladder. Oriental cholangiohepatitis, ductal stone, liver fluke infestation can give rise to palpable gallbladder. Mucocele, then gallbladder CA, the gallbladder mass is palpable. That are the few exceptions for Courvoisier's law. You should bear in mind. Now, how to proceed for investigation in case of jaundice. If you rule out the medical causes, you can focus on the surgical causes. So, mainly we have to differentiate the surgical jaundice from medical jaundice. Simple urine test for bile salt and bile pigment, that is Fauchett's test, Hess test, will be positive in case of obstructive jaundice. Then Ehrlich's test, that will show that urobilinogen is absent in urine. Stool color will be pale, alcoholic stool. Occult blood can be present if there is a bleeding melena. Oocyst will show whether there is a parasitic infestation. CBC will show reduced hemoglobin, or there can be leukocytosis in case of cholangitis. Coagulation profile will be deranged, prothrombin time increase, PT-INR ratio is deranged, partial prothrombin time again it is deranged. CA 19-9 more than 70 units will be suggesting pancreatic malignancy. Then again we should rule out the previous cause of hepatitis B or hepatitis C by doing the hepatitis antigen or hepatitis C antigen. Serum electrolytes may be deranged. Renal function will be deranged if the kidneys are affected. Now liver function test, you will find total bilirubin is raised. In case of stone, it is raised. In case of malignant obstruction, it will be markedly raised. So mainly it is a conjugated direct bilirubin which is raised in more than 50% of total. That can be done with Vandenberg test. Serum alkaline phosphatase, again it will be raised in stone calculus obstruction. It is markedly raised in case of malignant obstruction. Transaminase, ALT, AST, they are minimally raised, which are raised in case of hepatitis or medical jaundice. So transaminase will be minimally raised if there is some damage to the hepatocytes. Gamma glutamyl transpeptidase, again it is raised in calculus obstruction, markedly raised in malignant obstruction. Serum protein albumin globulin ratio is altered. 5-nucleotidase level, serum level will be increased. Now we have to differentiate clinically as well as radiologically whether it is a obstructive jaundice or whether it is a medical jaundice. Plain radiograph are little value. You can get radio picture of gallstone or pancreatic duct stone. Abdominal ultrasonography is a gold standard first line imaging in jaundice. It detects the liver abnormality, any lesion, hepatosplenomegaly, gallstones by casting acoustic shadow. Here is a picture which is showing gallstone in CBD, choledocholithiasis with acoustic shadow. It can also identify extrahepatic causes of biliary obstruction or intrahepatic disease like malignancy, malignant lesion. So routine abdominal ultrasonography give you some clue regarding the type of obstruction or level of obstruction. Better investigation, that is MRCP, magnetic resonance cholangiopancreatography. So it is also investigation of choice. So it can show you biliary ductal pattern and around the biliary duct, the parenchymal changes, hilar obstruction. Now this is picture showing hilar obstruction with biliary stent in situ. Endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography, nowadays it is performed. It can diagnose benign and extrahepatic obstruction. It is also useful as a diagnostic and also useful as therapeutic. If there is a obstruction due to stone in the terminal CBD or at the ampulla veter, you can extract the stone by a Dormia basket and you can relieve the obstruction. So it is a therapeutic also. So particularly ARCP is useful for the lower CBD or distal CBD obstruction. Computed tomography, CECT, it is helpful in case of lesions in liver, bile duct like cholangiocarcinoma, CA head of pancreas. It also helps to for the staging of the malignancy, lymph node status, metastasis, operability. It can give idea regarding the operability of the lesions. Endoscopic ultrasound can detect small lesions in the head of pancreas and lymph node lymphadenopathy. We can take a needle biopsy with the help of endoscopic ultrasound. Even intraductal ultrasounds can be done as on now today. Percutaneous liver biopsy can be done if the liver is cirrhotic or if you want to know the cause in the liver pathology. So before doing liver biopsy, one should get the coagulation profile done, otherwise it will cause bleeding. So coagulation profile should be normal while performing liver biopsy. Then again, laparotomy to know the cause. Diagnostic laparotomy can be done, or better nowadays we go for laparoscopy, diagnostic laparoscopy to know the to assess the cause of or assess the lesion. Then again, in case of obstructive jaundice, percutaneous transhepatic cholangiogram can be done. That is helpful in case of when ERCP has failed and the lesion is proximal, lesion is in the proximal bile duct or intrahepatic duct. So that can be tackled with the PTC, percutaneous transhepatic cholangiogram. And again, advantage of PTC is that you can decompress the biliary system, dilated biliary system. So this is a ultrasound picture showing gallstone, dilated bile duct, the stone causing acoustic shadow. So PTC that can evaluate suspected biliary obstruction when ERCP is unsuccessful. So it is helpful in proximal lesions, proximal obstruction of bile duct. Now how to manage the case of surgical jaundice. Once you diagnose the case and cause for the obstructive jaundice, initially we require to resuscitate the patient. We should give vitamin K 10 milligram intramuscular for 5 days to correct the coagulopathy. FFP is required at least 6 units. In case of anemia, we can go with blood transfusion, oral neomycin, lactulose to reduce the effect of jaundice. Then again, pruritus can be reduced by giving cholestyramine that can bind the bile salt and reduce the absorption of bile salt from the intestine. But at the same time, it will reduce the absorption of fat soluble vitamins. So we should use it cautiously. IV mannitol 100 to 200 ml BID is given. Adequate hydration is necessary in the form of IV dextrose, and hyponatremia may be corrected with saline. Third generation cephalosporin can be given as a prophylactic antibiotic, and in case of cholangitis or if the leukocytosis count is more, leukocytosis is there. Calcium supplements, they are given in the form of calcium chloride IV. Now we should monitor electrolytes, prothrombin time, PPT, INR to correct the coagulopathy. So once you resuscitate the patient, you stable the patient hemodynamically, we can go for diagnosing and treating the cause for obstruction. So diagnosis of the cause for obstruction is important, level of obstruction is important, clinical status should be assessed so that we can think the possibility of intervention or any definitive procedure, radical procedure, or any palliation if required, depending on the clinical status of the patient. So in presence of cholangitis, again one has to relieve the obstruction, decompress the biliary tree, control the infection, gram positive, gram negative coverage, and we have to treat the specific cause for obstruction, whether it is stone or malignancy or stricture. So treatment modalities available like ERCP, we can go for ERCP, diagnose periampullary lesion or any obstruction in the distal CBD. If stone is there, we can extract the stone. If there is a stenosis, we can dilate it, go for sphincterotomy, we can go for stenting, and we relieve the jaundice. If the jaundice is high, level is more than 12 milligram, then one has to go for decompression. So stenting can be done, decompress the biliary system. And once the jaundice is settled, we can go for cholecystectomy after removal of CBD stone. Then in case of stricture, we can go for balloon dilatation and stenting. Open or laparoscopic surgery can be done to relieve the obstruction. We can explore the CBD, and if we can take out the stone with the Desjardins forceps. If it is not possible to relieve the obstruction, distal obstruction, one can go with the choledocho jejunostomy or choledocho duodenostomy. Or if it is CBD is not dilated and it is not possible, one can go with the hepatico-jejunostomy by creating Roux-en-Y loop. Or if it is not possible, one can go with the CBD exploration and put a T-tube after CBD exploration. The stone in the CBD later on can be removed by fiber optic choledocoscope after a T-tube has formed the track. So T-tube can be used as a decompression for the obstructive jaundice. Then if there is obstruction in the distal CBD, either due to cholangiocarcinoma or head of pancreas or periampullary carcinoma, we can go for radical surgery like Whipple's surgery with triple bypass, or just go for palliative bypass if the patient is not, the lesion is not operable. In case of cholangiocarcinoma, again resection and hepatectomy, partial hepatectomy followed by hepatico-jejunostomy, or portoenterostomy, that is called as Cassay's procedure. Or if the lesion is inoperable, then one can go for palliative stenting of CBD. Even palliative stenting of duodenum can be done. So choledochal cyst requires resection followed by hepatico-jejunostomy. Then we can, if the distal obstruction, if it is a proximal obstruction, then we can go with the percutaneous transhepatic cholangiography, put a stent, drain the CBD. Particularly it is useful when the ERCP is not possible for proximal lesions in the CBD, bile duct or intrahepatic duct. Now this is a picture showing triple bypass, that is choledocho-jejunostomy or cholecystojejunostomy. Mostly it is choledocho-jejunostomy, gastrojejunostomy and pancreatico-jejunostomy. That is picture of percutaneous transhepatic biliary drainage. Stent can be put, or stricture can be dilated and stent can be put. That is a removal of stone after putting a T-tube drainage which forms a track, and then choledocoscope is used to remove the CBD stone by Dormia basket. That is Marien's technique. This is a palliative bypass either through PTC if it is proximal, or if it is distal, one can go with ERCP stenting. Again, with the help of gastroscope, the duodenal stent is put in the duodenum, expandable stent is put in the duodenum with the help of gastroscope. So these are the palliative procedure when we cannot resect the lesion or we cannot relieve the obstruction. Stenting can be done. There is the CASA is portoenterostomy. Jejunal loop is anastomos with the porta hepatis, portoenterostomy. That is done in case of Klatskin tumor or cholangiocarcinoma. So this is a diagrammatic picture of Kasai's portoenterostomy. Now the post-operative care is also equally important. We have to monitor prothrombin time, bilirubin level, albumin, electrolytes. So FFP is required, blood transfusions are required, antibiotic, third generation cephalosporin, antibiotic covering gram positive, gram negative. We have to prevent the septicemia. So observe for the sepsis, hemorrhage, pneumonia, any pleural effusion or any bile leak from the anastomosis, or after procedure if there is any injury to biliary tract. Then we have to maintain the T-tube. After 14 days we can go with cholangiography, T-tube cholangiography, and then we can think of removing the T-tube once the obstruction is relieved. The T-tube cholangiography is helpful to know that whether the obstruction is persistent or whether we can go with the choledocoscope. We have to take care of drains, then TPN, CVP measurement, rise tube aspiration, urinary catheter. All these simple measures must be done meticulously in post-operative care. So once you diagnose early, manage the patient properly with aggressive resuscitation, the prognosis will be better. There are certain parameters like type of obstruction due to malignancy or benign, age factor, serum albumin, serum bilirubin, serum alkaline phosphatase, serum creatinine, total count in case of cholangitis, hematocrit. All these parameters, if we put into score, that is called as Pitt score. If all 8 are present, the mortality is 100%. So depending on these factors present, score can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Up to 2 there will be no mortality. As the score increases, mortality will be increased to 100%. So these are the prognostic factors. So one should try to reduce the morbidity and mortality in case of surgical jaundice by aggressively treating the patient, treating the cause for obstruction. Thank you.